Last Sunday evening, my wife and I have a fire pit out in the back of our house, and we were sitting out there, and about 10:30 we were both facing the south, and I saw this basically a bright light kind of coming through the trees as we looked to the south, and I stood up. I knew immediately that when I saw it that this was something different, and I directed my wife to stand up, and we kind of maneuvered ourselves over by a patio, a concrete patio in the back of our house so we could see a little better. And as the thing came out from behind the trees, you know, it's pretty typical to a lot of the stuff that I have now found out later about out on the internet. Pretty typical of what I think a lot of people are seeing, and it basically it was about the size, if you took a penny and held it out at arm's length and moved it across the sky, about the size of a penny. It definitely had its own internal light source. To me, it looked like it was almost pulsating, and it moved kind of a 45-degree angle across from. Well, it actually it came out of the southeast and moved to the northwest. And as it got out from behind the tree and kind of came over the top, not the top of our house, but we could see it, you know, about a 45-degree angle, it looked like it was pretty close. And like I say, we were both just dumbfounded, and I looked at it as hard as I could as it went by. And the thing that struck me about it was round, it was pulsating. It moved kind of like a satellite would, you know, just straight across the sky in a straight line. And the thing that really got it to us was that it had no sound at all. You know, it looked like it was close enough that if it was, like I said in my description, if it was anything mechanical, that we would have heard it, because at the speed that it was going and about the size that it was, if it was an airplane or a helicopter or anything like that, I know that we would have heard it. There was no wind that night. It was very clear. So yeah, you know, and like I say, you know, we've gone out on the internet and looked at stuff about UFO sightings. I mean, I've always kind of been pretty passive toward this issue, but this one really woke us up. And so, you know, we're just trying to report it and be as descriptive as we can. Now, when my wife got up, the only device that we had out there was her phone, and she immediately, she thought she'd probably hit record and zoomed in on it. So she was actually watching it zoomed in on her phone, where I was just looking at it with the naked eye. But she says that she saw it in her phone spread apart like a kind of like an explosion of a firework into a bunch of different little pieces, and then gather itself back together. So you know, if somebody can explain what that is, I'll be glad to listen. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, like I said in my report, I'm 56 years old and I've seen a lot of stuff, and this was something that I have never seen before and would probably never see again.
Well, I wouldn't be too sure about that.
Well, you know, maybe not. I tell you what, you know, like I say, it's made a believer out of me, and I have a little bloggy video camera, and I'm telling you what, I keep that sucker in my pocket all the time, because from what I've seen out on the internet, these things are just as apt to come out in the daytime as they are at night.
Precisely. In fact, there seem to be quite a few of them, and I mean, the description that your wife gives of it coming apart into pieces and then coming back together, that seems to be quite familiar, at least with recent sightings. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I wish that you had gotten the video. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, you know, like I say, we were both unprepared for this, and you know, my wife, I guess she didn't get the record button hit. We've both been just killing ourselves over this, because if we would have caught good video of that thing coming apart and then going back together again, we knew we'd have had something big right there.
I mean, don't feel bad about not getting it, because you'd be amazed how many people file reports and say, I was looking at it, and then they'll say, you know, after the event and after the object either went out of sight or disappeared, they go, and then I remembered I had my phone in my pocket, or I had my phone in my hand.
Yeah.
And picture of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, even seeing it through the phone, that's a good thing because that
Yeah.
got more detail into your description here.
Yeah. Well, the thing. You know, I'm glad that we saw it together because, you know, if it was just me or just her, then, you know, it's just always kind of open for speculation. But we can both look at each other and go, hey, you know what? People can laugh and scoff about what we saw, but we know what we saw. And I'm just really surprised because, like I say, in Wichita here, we've got a river festival going on. And even at 10:30, there's probably still a lot of people downtown. We don't really go down there for that or anything, but we were just sitting in our backyard. But the thing looked like it was headed straight for downtown. And I know we have sent descriptions of what we saw to our local TV channels, and we have heard nothing back from anybody. So you know, unless there must have had to been somebody else who saw this thing.
Well, what I did was I went to all the local news channels' Facebook pages, and I posted the time, and I posted what we saw, and asked anyone who saw it to comment, and of course, no one did.
So yeah, so we kind of feel alone in this, but it's quite a deal.
Well, don't feel bad about that. I mean, the problem is, I mean, everyone asks how come if UFO sightings are on the rise, how come more people aren't reporting them? And the most common answer is very few people are looking up at the sky.
Yeah, right.
Looking at their phones.
And,
well, in the
I mean, like, go ahead.
I'm just saying the saving grace now is that, you know, even though maybe this stuff has been occurring for a long, long time, today the technology and everybody at least has a camera phone now. And so the ability for people to record these things is probably escalated. But I don't know, like I say, I'm sure you probably pay attention to this kind of stuff 24/7. Are you seeing the actual incidences on the rise?
Yes, as of the past 2 months, definitely.
Wow, that's amazing.
We kind of had a lull, so to speak, for about 6 months, but it's going back on the rise for at least the past 2 months.
Yeah.
So now I do have a couple questions for both of you and your wife. Well, actually, quite a few questions.
Okay,
I'll try
sure.
and run through them as quick as we can.
Sure.
But I mean, like for example, you said that you were outside of your house.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, did you notice anything? This has to do specifically with electromagnetic disturbances. Did you notice if lights in your house were affected in any way when this flew over?
No, we didn't see anything like that.
Okay. Was your wife's phone at all in any way affected?
We don't. Maybe that's it. maybe she did hit the record button. It just didn't want to be recorded. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think anything electronic was affected at all.
Okay. And there were no cars in the area at the time?
Well, no. We're kind of on a residential street, and we were in our backyard. So you know, there may have been a car going down the street or something. We wouldn't have noticed it at that point.
Okay. Do you and your wife have any pets?
Yeah, we've got 2 cats and 2 dogs.
Were they outside at the time?
Our dogs were, yeah.
Okay. In that case, let me go ahead and ask questions about that. Were the animals in any way affected during the event? I mean, did they start barking? Did they howl, whine?
No, we didn't see anything from them.
Okay. In that case, let me go ahead and move on here to the next set here. Now, this next set of questions has to do with psychological and physical effects. Basically, that you and your wife may have experienced while you were observing this object.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you have a feeling of calmness before, or during, or after the event?
I'm always calm.
No, I think we were both pretty calm, you know. We didn't feel any panic or anything like that. We didn't feel threatened. We didn't feel threatened by it at all. It was not coming toward us, really. It was just moving from one side of the sky to the other.
I'm still kind of surprised at how calm I was, considering what I knew I was seeing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing something unusual like that, I know, because some people are sometimes unnerved by it. Now, did you and your wife have a feeling of curiousness during or after the event?
Well, curiousness was definitely during and after. Once we realized that what we were seeing was nothing of a mechanical source, because after it went over the top of our house to where we couldn't see it anymore, I think the words out of my mouth, I looked at my wife and I said, "Honey, that thing did not make any sound at all." And we were just dumbfounded by it.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been curious ever since, and like I said, we've been going out and looking at videos and just really trying to update ourselves on just what's going on out there.
Okay. Have you or your wife had any bouts of insomnia since this event?
Yeah, well, I have trouble sleeping anyway, but it does. I think it was worse afterward, just because I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've been. It's not affected my sleep at all or anything.
Have you or your wife experienced any moments of your thinking being impaired since the event?
Thinking being impaired?
No.
Not above the normal.
Okay. Your wife in the trance-like state anytime during or after the event?
No.
No.
Okay. Have you or your wife experienced any kind of memory lapses since the event?
No.
No, not that we can think of.
Okay. Have you or your wife experienced any nightmares?
No.
Okay. During or after the event, did you or your wife experience any kind of involuntary actions?
No.
Okay. Did you or your wife, after the event, have any obsessions?
Any what?
Obsessions. Just obsessions with looking at YouTube videos of...
Really? I've been joking with people. I've been saying, "Excuse me, while I go home and fill my living room full of dirt."
Well, I love that reference too.
Oh, that's the old movie Close Encounters of the Third
Close
Kind.
Encounters.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh yeah. I love the expression on the neighbor's faces when he was doing that. Now, since the event during or after the event, did you or your wife feel that this was like a religious experience?
Well, not really a religious experience. I think we kind of have we both have an idea of what we think it means theologically, but that's kind of another issue, really.
Okay. Have you or your wife experienced any personality changes?
No.
Okay. Have you or your wife experienced any kind of mental telepathy, either during or after the event?
No.
And you didn't have any feelings of fear or dread?
No.
Okay. Have you or your wife had any experiences of precognition since the event?
Like knowing something before it happens.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Now, since this event, have you and your wife felt a need to speak to a therapist?
Oh, no.
Okay. Hang on just a moment. Okay. At any point during the event or afterward, have you had any bouts of deafness?
Of what?
Of what?
Deafness?
Of what? Deafness? Nothing more than the normal.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did your ears hurt at any time?
No.
Okay. Did you or your wife have a feeling of your eardrums vibrating during or after the event?
No.
Okay. Anytime during or after the event, have you or your wife had a feeling of your internal organs vibrating?
Nope.
Okay. Anytime during or after the event, did you or your wife have any feelings of tooth fillings or dental work vibrating in your mouth?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, have you or your wife had any strange taste in your mouth?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, have you or your wife experienced any bleeding from the mouth?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did you have the feeling that your hair was standing on end?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, have you or your wife experienced any of your hair turning white?
Nope.
Okay. And no hair falling out? No hair burn?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did you or your wife's eyes go out of focus?
No.
Did either of you have any sensation of your eyes watering, a burning sensation or hurting feeling in your eyes?
No.
No blindness?
No blindness.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did either you or your wife experience any kind of nose irritation or nosebleed?
No.
Okay. At any time, did either of your arm muscles ache?
No.
Any leg muscles aching?
No.
Any back aches?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did you or your wife's motor skills become affected in any way?
No.
Okay. Was there any joint or muscle stiffness?
No.
No more than usual.
No more than usual.
During or after? Go ahead.
I'll just say no more than usual.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did you or your wife experience any paralysis?
No.
Have you or your wife had any feelings that you were levitating?
No.
Okay. You haven't experienced any skin rashes?
No.
No unusual marks on the body or body wounds?
No.
Okay. At any time during or afterward, did you or your wife have nervous shaking?
Nope.
Okay. And any sleep disorders since then?
No.
Any bouts of numbness?
No.
Okay. At any time during or after the event, did you or your wife feel any kind of electrical shock?
No.
Okay. Now, when the object flew over your house, it just overflew the area with no apparent interest in either you and your wife, correct?
Yeah. We didn't feel that it was aware of us in any way.
Okay. So it didn't approach you during the event?
No.
And it didn't hover over you and your wife during the event,
No.
correct?
No. It stayed on a steady path and a steady speed, whatever it was.
Okay. Do you or your wife have any interest in psychic phenomena?
Not really.
Not really.
We're Christian and we try to steer clear of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. Do you or your wife feel that you have any kind of psychic abilities?
No more than women's intuition once in a while. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
Well, at any time, have you ever had these abilities tested professionally?
No.
To do what?
Tested
Okay.
professionally.
Oh.
No.
Okay, I do apologize. It's part of the questionnaire.
That's all right. No problem.
Okay, so at no time did any portion of this object land anywhere?
No, not that we saw.
Okay, and you did not see any entities aboard it or around it?
No.
Okay. Going back to the basic questions that you filled out, just to clarify a few things. Now, the object did eject objects, and then it came back together, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to be sure of that. The object was also pulsating, and it glowed.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to define it. You know, it was round, and it definitely had its own internal light source of some kind. It wasn't like we saw it because, you know, the lights of the city or anything were shining on it. It had its own internal power and light source. And it looked to me like it was pulsating, and I think the overall color that it looked was orange, although I did mention to my wife that I thought it had a little bit of a purplish tint to it.
Okay. And the surface was glowing as if, like you just said, it had an internal light source, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, you did not see any structural features other than the object as an orb, correct?
Right, yeah. There was no wingspan or anything like that. No beacon lights. You know, I work in aircraft, so I'm pretty familiar with what an aircraft looks like. And like I say, this had absolutely no strobe or beacon lights.
Okay. Approximately how far away would you say it was from you at the time when you saw it, if you were to take a rough guess?
I would say probably about a half a mile to maybe 3/4 of a mile.
there was no emission, no kind of contrail or anything like that?
No, it didn't have any type of a streak or contrail or anything.
Okay. Were there any other aircraft in the area at the time immediately before or immediately after?
I think, let me think. No, not really. Earlier in the evening, we probably went out there about 9 o'clock at night, and I think we did see a satellite go over, and I remember looking way up high, and you could see a jet with the beacon lights, even though a jet might have been traveling or been at the altitude of 30,000 feet. I could see a little bit of a contrail on the jet because of the lights of the city.
But none of that was right before we saw
Yeah,
the
no,
object.
this, as a matter of fact, I think about 10 minutes before we saw the object, I was a little bored, and I even said to my wife, I said, it'd be really nice if we could both see a good shooting star tonight, And then about 10 minutes later, this thing shows up.
Yeah, sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for.
I guess so, man. Oh, we're totally thrilled about the experience. I mean, we really are.
Well, trust me, I understand that. But again, getting the distance, you said roughly half a mile to 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah,
correct?
about that,
Okay. And it was pretty much a straight line path that it flew. It didn't do any kind of deviation, correct?
No, I didn't really see it change course in any way.
Okay.
And it stayed on it stayed a very consistent speed too.
Okay. Didn't move in any kind of a zigzag fashion, just pretty much straight line
Yeah,
right over.
yeah,
correct?
just a straight line. Yeah.
Okay. And the direction you first observed the object was in the southeast, and it was traveling to the northwest.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
South.
Southeast. Yeah,
Okay.
to the northwest. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see, the area where you live is basically a suburban area, correct?
And
It's
we're about
we're pretty close to downtown. We're close to some busy streets.
yeah,
and
we're about 2
overpass.
miles southeast of downtown Wichita.
Okay. How would you describe the terrain in the area where you live?
It's pretty flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the area where you live, are there any power lines, power stations, airports, railroad tracks?
Well, the closest airport we have is McConnell Air Force Base. And yeah, there's probably power lines around. As far
There's
as
a cell tower in the park, but that's the tallest structure besides what's along the highway.
yeah,
Can't think of anything.
I can't think of how close the nearest power station might be.
Okay,
Not
that's fine.
close.
That's fine.
Wouldn't be close.
And of course, the sky was clear. The weather report I have here from wonderground.com says that night it was, let's see, a ceiling of 10 miles, clear skies, pretty much unlimited visibility. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It's very clear and very still. I think the wind speed might have been a mile an hour to
It
5
was
at the most. It was
so
very still.
That's why we waited till Sunday night to have our fire. Usually we have them on Saturday so we can stay up late, but Sunday was just perfect. So we
Yeah,
had
it was a little bit windy Friday and Saturday, so we didn't do our fire. And of course, Sunday night it was just perfect. So we thought, hey, we're not missing this one. So we went out there and did that.
Okay. Now, it also says that you made a sketch or a drawing.
Well, what I did was there's a link that if you go to that link, you'll see kind of a dark picture. Maybe it's kind of dark because it may show up darker on different computer screens. But what I did was the next night, I went outside and I took a picture of the top of our house and the trees. It was pretty dark then, but you could still see the outline of the house and the trees. And I transposed an image that I thought looked pretty close to what we saw, and I kind of drew a straight line through it, or to show you where the path was at. So if you look at my report, there should be a link there that takes you to that page. Have you seen that?
Yes, I did. I was kind of curious if you could go ahead and email me just that graphic.
Yeah, I can do that. And I say on there, I put on the graphic that this is a recreation of what we saw. I don't want anybody to think that is an actual picture.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I understood that. I'm sure everyone who does read it, they understand that fully.
Yeah, yeah. Now you
But
say
no,
you
I
want
mean,
me to.
even if it's a digital sketch, so to speak, I mean, I would like to attach it to the file in
Okay.
our database.
Do you think? Have you seen that picture? Do you think that's enough, or do you think I should come up with something a little more?
Actually, that's fine by me. If you wanted to do another one, I mean, showing how it kind of